So on my channel, it's been a common trend that what I do a lot is call out people who have been overly critical of the Snyder Cut. So I've done it on Andy Signor, I've done it on Jody. I even did one video where both of them I call them out at the same time. So I've done these videos before. So if you're someone who loves the Snyder Cut, if you're someone who's a big Zack Snyder fan, you're in the right place because here on the channel I talk a lot about the Snyder Cut. Recently we've been uploading a lot of Snyder Cut content. So if you're into that kind of stuff, make sure you subscribe. If you want to join the Snyder Cut movement, all you have to do is subscribe and turn on notification bell. Over 90% of the people who watch these videos are not subscribed, so make sure you're not in that percentage, and also make sure you turn on notification bell. That way you can be notified with future content here on the channel, and smash the like button to help me in the algorithm. So anyways, today's video is going to be on John Campea, as you guys can see in the title and thumbnail. The difference between John Campea and the other people I've talked about in the past is John Campea is actually a guy I really love and admire. He's my favorite YouTuber out there, and he is a reason why I even created this channel, because he kind of inspired me to do movie commentary, because that's what I love to do. But his Snyder Cut takes have always been something that have rubbed me the wrong way, and it's obviously, eventually, if you hear someone for a long enough, you're eventually going to disagree with them. Eventually. It's inevitable. I mean, me and my channel, I'm pretty sure you can find a video where you'll disagree with me on something. I don't know what it could be, but maybe one day I'll make a video that you guys disagree, but that's cool because at the end of the day, we do disagree. However, I'm going to call out John Campea today because I feel like I really need to. Alright, so let me get the context out the way. Before the Snyder got announced, John Campea constantly said over and over and over again that the Snyder Cut never existed. He constantly kept saying that the Snyder Cut will never get released, and he always rubbed it off the other direction. He always said it'll never get released. And anytime he was asked, he says, is there a full-length, fully edited, fully finished Snyder Cut ready? And eventually, when it got announced, his first thing to do was say, look guys, there's never a fully edited version of the Snyder Cut. And he constantly used that as an excuse for every debate. He constantly kept saying that the Snyder Cut was never really done, and that there was never a Snyder Cut. And so he kept saying how right he was. And that's something I don't like about Campea, because even when Campea is wrong, for the most part, he'll always try to make himself seem right. Now, I understand what he's trying to say. Some people were going out there making up lies that it was fully done, finished, and fully edited. I will not lie. Some Snyder Cut fans were saying that, it was fully done and fully edited when it wasn't. Now, we already had most of the scenes shot. We already had a lot of the stuff finished in CGI. Remember the Whedon cut? A lot of the stuff in the Whedon cut is like a mixture of Snyder stuff. While like they change it up and cut out the clips and cut out the context and change the color palette. So we obviously did have already a lot of stuff, but he constantly calls out the reshoots. He constantly says this. He constantly says that. But that's not what the Snyder Cut movement was always about. The Snyder Cut movement wasn't about an already finished cut of Justice League. The whole point of the movement was so that we can get Snyder's film, a film that we were promised in 2017 that we never got. We knew very well that it wasn't completed. We knew that very well already. However, we knew that there was footage. We already knew that in less than a year you could finish this film, and that came out to be true. And he always constantly uses that excuse. It was like, there was never a fully done cut of Justice League. Well, that was not the point of the movement. The point of the movement was just to tell Warner Bros., hey, look, Snyder shot almost every scene he needs. Snyder, a lot of the stuff he did behind the scenes is almost done. Please just finish it and then release it. That's what the fans wanted. And once the Snyder Cut came out, like when the announcement of the Snyder Cut got released, he kept now comes the next question, and that is this a cul-de-sac? Are we going to get part 2, part 3? Are we going to get any other future movies? That's a big question right now being questioned in the Snyder Cut community. Because let's be honest, right now, us as fans, we do not know if there will be future films. John Campea, I already said this before, he was wrong that the Snyder Cut would never get released. He said the Snyder Cut would never come out, and look where we are now. We're just a week away from the Snyder Cut, and we're all excited for it, obviously. Now, anytime he's asked, is this a cul-de-sac? Are we going to get part 2 and part 3? He'll always respond with, nah, we'll never see part 2 and part 3. And I noticed in his recent videos, when he's asked the question of the Snyder Cut, he kind of seems a little ticked off from it. It seems like he's exhausted of talking about the Snyder Cut. And he constantly quickly says, nah, Walter Amada said it was a cul-de-sac. Now, wait a minute. So now we're going to go based off of things Walter Amada has said, right? Well, let's remember, a few Warner Bros. Executives said the Snyder Cut will never be released. Look where we are now. So for you to just say Walter Amada said this, so it's like that. I mean, even Zack Snyder himself didn't believe that the Snyder Cut would get released, and look where we are now. Things can change. And I remember one time, him and Robert Meyer Burnett were talking, and they said, I think they got a question saying, do you think we'll get a Justice League Part 2 and Part 3 if the Snyder Cut is successful? And his response is, how can you measure the success of a streaming movie? I'm sorry, what kind of idiotic statement is that? How do you measure the success of it? How many subscriptions you get? How much watch time you get? How much people want that film that you put out on HBO Max? That is how you measure how good it is. And according to that logic, you said in previous streams that Wonder Woman 84 failed in HBO Max. When that's not, if according to your logic, it's not possible it failed, because how do you measure a movie in a streaming service? Kind of hypocritical, isn't it? Because let's be honest, if Walter Amada sees record-breaking numbers, if Walter Amada sees, everybody just going on to HBO Max, purchasing subscription, getting new members, and getting people, like full people actually watching all 4 hours of the Snyder Cut, watching it, you know very well Walter Amada is going to be like, oh my God, I could make more money off this. Maybe let's possibly make part 2 and part 3. Now, this isn't official. I am not part of Warner Bros. I am not part of AT&T. I'm not part of DC. So I personally do not know if that's factual. But if you're a smart guy and something's making you a ton of money, you're probably going to want to keep doing the thing that gives you a lot of money. And he always believes everything it's told. Every time he'll always go back to people that say things like that. But remember, for before the Snyder Cut got released, big people in Warner Bros. Were saying that the Snyder Cut would never come out. And I mean, yeah, take what they say and be like, okay, that's probably a good possibility. But don't flat out say, oh, there'll never be a part 2 and part 3. Because that's my big issue with Campea. He just completely denies that a part 2 and part 3 is impossible. He denies how possible that is. Because let me tell you, there is a good chance that if the Snyder Cut breaks records and does really, really well, there will be a part 2 and part 3. Because if you're a smart guy, like I said, if something makes you money, you keep doing that. Because at the end of the day, this is a business. And business, your number one goal for business is to make money. Now, he always constantly says there will never be a part 2 and part 3. Like I said already. Something he doesn't seem to realize is he was already wrong about the Snyder Cut coming out. He keeps saying it's a cul-de-sac because Walter Amada says so. But remember, Campea, you've admitted that you didn't believe the Snyder Cut would come out. And why would you just 100% trust your senses that part 2 and part 3 are impossible when you've already been proven wrong that the Snyder Cut was never possible in the first place? You can go on YouTube and search up times where Campea was wrong about the Snyder Cut. There's so much footage. It's like, why would you be so 100% sure that we will never get a part 2 and part 3 if you're already so wrong about a part 1? But yeah, look how that turned out, eh? And something he says. So Snyder, a few months back, he said, I think something like only a good 10% of his film was in the Snyder Cut. Or not in the Snyder Cut, in the Justice League film. Only like 10% of footage in there. And Campea constantly says, no, he's lying. And the excuse he'll use is Snyder himself said that Snyder said there are 2 brand new, never before seen hours in this film. Campea takes that as, okay, the 2 hours of Justice League will be there, but we'll get these other 2 hours. And I don't know what kind of thinking that is. The reason why Snyder even said 2 brand new hours is so that he could emphasize on the fact that this is twice as long. We all know very well that the Justice League, while yes, he did use footage of Snyder's film, he completely chopped it up and edited it in a weird way with a different color palette, different score, different everything. And that is crucial to a film. So when Snyder says only 10% of his film was really used, that's what he means. But apparently people like Campea don't want to understand that simple fact. And something he always brings up is he says Snyder Cut won't do well because Man of Steel and BVS had really poor Rotten Tomato scores. And something I have to say about that is, remember the Thor franchise. The first Thor movie was not loved. Thor: The Dark World is seen as the worst MCU movie of all time. And look how Ragnarok turned out. Ragnarok, regardless if you liked it or disliked it, something you have to admit is that Ragnarok did really well in the box office. And it got really well reception in Rotten Tomato. So you can't just use those 2 movies as an example and say, yeah, that is the defining thing. Now, I'll admit, I don't expect the Snyder Cut to get good scores on Rotten Tomatoes, knowing how the critics already don't like Man of Steel and BVS. However, you can't just use that now as an excuse, because now there are more Snyder fans than there were 4 years ago. There's a bigger movement, there's bigger fans, because I'll admit it, when BVS first came out, I hated Zack Snyder. I hated BVS, and I was really ashamed of him. Eventually, I saw the Ultimate Cut, and my mind completely changed. And look at me now. And the thing is, there's way more people that think that way too. A lot of people out there think the same way I do, where they once believed that Zack Snyder's film sucked, and look where they are now. Because times have changed. I mean, remember if you were in the internet back in 2018, or 2017, he was one of the most hated directors out there. And now, look, he's one of the most loved directors of all time. I cannot tell you there's a bigger director fan base than there is for Snyder. Maybe Scorsese, maybe Nolan, but I don't think any of them would have done the same thing they did for Snyder. And, he was wrong about the Snyder Cut never coming out. Like I said already, he was wrong about that, but he continues to believe that the Part 2 and Part 3 are pipe dreams. And look, Campea, I respect him a ton. He's my favorite YouTuber. But I'm going to call him out when I want to call him out. Because at the end of the day, I got to call him out. Because it's getting annoying and it's getting frustrating. And honestly, I didn't even want to make the video. I don't know how people will take it, because a lot of people here are John Campea subscribers. So I don't know. I just called him out on that. Don't believe, because my problem is how when he's asked about Part 2 and Part 3, he quickly brushes it off like, you're stupid if you think it's possible. Walter Mata says it's a cul-de-sac. Well, let's also remember that less than a year ago, a lot of people believed that the Snyder Cut would never see the day of light. The light of day. I think I messed that up. And you yourself, you yourself, Campea, admitted that you believe that the Snyder Cut would never be possible, and look where we are now. We are in a different world. We are in a different generation. Or, not generation, it was just legit a year, but we're in a different era. And Part 2 and Part 3, you'd be idiotic to believe it's impossible. Now, do I think it will happen? I give it a 50% chance. We have to wait to see how the Snyder Cut does. But it seems like Campea is inherently biased towards, because remember, he is the face of the community that said that the Snyder Cut would never happen. So I guess in a way he is angry that he came out to be wrong. Whatever it is, that's gonna be it for today's video, man. I know this video didn't sound as ranty as the one I did for Andy and the one I did for Jody. That's more because right now I'm feeling kind of exhausted, and also Campea is someone who I do genuinely respect. I don't make this video out of hatred for him. I make this video out of, saying, hey, look, man, when you're wrong about something, just admit it. And he himself won't admit that he was wrong about the Snyder Cut. He always says, I was right because I said there was never a fully edited, finished version of the Snyder. Okay, just pipe down. Pipe down. And yeah, look, if you're a Campea fan, this is no disrespect. I already said already how much I respect him a lot. I think he's the best film pundit on YouTube. Personally, he's the channel I watch the most. So I say this with the utmost respect for him, and I hope you guys understand what I'm trying to say. But anyways, I'm gonna end off today's video. Make sure you smash the like button, hit the subscribe button, and turn on notification bells. I've called out Andy, I've called out Jody, I've called out Snyder, or not Snyder. I've called out Campea. So if you want me to call out somebody else, make sure you put it in the comment sections below. And also, if you agree or disagree with me, make sure you do that too, because I like to hear y'all's opinions. I like to hear what y'all think. So yeah, anyways, guys, thank y'all for joining us here on today's video, and I hope to see you guys next time. Bye bye.